was also able to get a lot of iconographic evidences. And so if you would have seen my paper, there are sculptures. I mean, there are more sculptures. Like, in fact, what was helpful is the moment I realized that there are two iconographies in our past which are closely associated with Veena. One is, of course, Saraswati. And so if one has to look at the important Veena of the times, one just has to see Saraswati of those times. Saraswati is always holding the Veena of the times. So, for example, the oldest so-called Saraswati, I mean, I don't know whether you will call her Saraswati or not, is this woman on one of the Barhawat pillars. And there she is holding a harp, Indian harp. And the Veena she has been holding since then has been very different. So if you see Saraswati between 10th century and 12th century, it is extremely likely that she is holding an Ektantri Veena. Okay. And why that is an Ektantri Veena, again, that has been one of the main focus of my studies, because as I was looking at these iconographies, Shankar, I mean, I was so puzzled because people would just randomly call anything. I mean, they would call 5 different kind of Veenas Ektantri Veena, or they would call, I mean, just calling anything. I mean, but you know, if you have a Ektantri Veena, it has to look in a particular way. I mean, when we say sitar can have minor modifications, but still sitar is a sitar. A sitar will not look like sarod. So, you know, when we identify these instruments in these sculptures, we have to be clear about what are these instruments. But even in good text, I would see people using very loose, identifications, and that also kind of got me curious that maybe if I understand Ektantri Veena very clearly, then I will be able to spot on say that this is Ektantri Veena. So Saraswati was one source of my iconographic evidences. The other very rich source is Veenadhar Shiv. In fact, the idea of Veenadhar Shiv becomes very popular in the south after 16th century or so on, and there he is always holding a kinnari, Laghu kinnari, mostly in his hand. All these very nice metallic reliefs. But there are some very old Veenadhar Shiv also, and there in again around 10th century, 11th century, Veenadhar Shiv are usually holding Ektantri Veena. So that was quite fascinating. Very late in my study, I was so Professor Saryu Doshi. I don't know if you so she is a well-known scholar of Jain art in Bombay. She works. She works closely with the Bombay Museum and so on. So I at some point I got connected to her, and she told me that there could be some representations of Ektantri Veena in old Jain art. See, Jain art, as you might know, they were the sort of the pioneers in miniature paintings in India. The first miniature paintings, not wall paintings or anything, but miniature paintings, mostly done on palm leaves. Were in the Jain tradition and mostly in Western India, and this is in this was already happening in 11th century, 12th century, and so on. And it is that tradition which got mixed with the Persian traditions to give rise to what we finally have as miniature art and Mughal miniature art and so on. So that is another story, which is also a lot of my big interest in art history. So I was asked to look there, and that is where I found. So I have this photograph, if you would have noticed, of Saraswati. That is from a Jain, and that there clearly she is holding a Ektantri.
Given the length and other mechanical dimensions of these instruments, would you be able to say something about the tuning, the timbre, the sounds?
So I think you have asked the difficult questions. I mean, see, I'll tell you. So when we started looking at these instruments, of course, there are several layers to what we want to understand or what one would like to understand. The most basic thing is what we have done. It is, I think, the zero thing. Basically, that can you just read text carefully and just sort of just give a trustworthy picture of what texts are describing, just plain and simple, and how this description compares between various texts without adding any of your own sort of intelligent insights into it. So that is what we did. Now, of course, the second stage to it is to do a physical reconstruction of this instrument because the materials are also well described, right? The third stage is to understand how to tune these instruments and how to play these instruments. Now, that is where the text becomes very, very difficult to understand. I mean, Sangeet Ratnakar has a very elaborate description on playing of Ektantri Veena, very elaborate. It's a Ektantri Veena, it's just a Veena with a one string. And it is not Ektara. Many people, even scholars, I've spoken to scholars of Indian art and Indian history who have confused, who think Ektantri Veena is Ektara. Ek tara is a folk instrument. It is not. I mean, it doesn't have a curved bridge. I mean, it is just a usual folk instrument. But ek tantri veena is a classical instrument. I mean, ek tantri veena is what leads to Rudra veena and much of our modern day instruments. It has a curved bridge. It has a jiva and all those features that I was looking for. So ek tantri veena is very different, but it has only one string. So playing on Ek Tantri Veena, it's a highly skillful activity. And when you read these descriptions from Sangeet Ratnakar, they're daunting. So that is one step, I think, which is there's a huge space for where practicing musicians, people who understand these things well, have to come together to understand how these instruments. I mean, what do these descriptions mean? I mean, how do one play, making sense of these descriptions? Tuning again is a very. One has to take that also very carefully, because when they are asking you to. So of course, Sangeet Ratnakar and other texts also tell you how to tune the instrument. But the basic definitions have changed a lot over years. So what they might be calling something, what they might be calling Shadaj, might be not, has evolved. I mean, the rag names have evolved over, since Sangeet Ratnakar. So I think that is a very exciting area to get into, that to understand how these instruments can be put to life in any small way. And that is a very non-trivial task, Shankar, if you ask me.
Sorry, I understand. No, I was wondering if, because you work with materials, so you understand, for example, the material that is used for, you said it's a animal.
Right.
So you understand that given the length of that particular veena and the possibilities that with the knobs and the, kind of the kakoba and other things that you have mentioned, if you are able to stretch it, you will have an idea of the maximum stretching that it can take.
Of course.
And also, depending on the thickness and the nature of the tube itself, some idea of the timbre of the particular instrument. So, what could you surmise, speculate based on that?
You're right. Actually, timber. To tell you honestly, I have not gone down the road of timber yet. My emphasis in terms of scientific studies has been mostly around pitch of an instrument, and pitch. Several instruments with very different timbres can have the same pitch.
Right.
But timbre is to quantify timbre scientifically is a much harder beast to tame. I mean, pitch is scientifically clear. It is frequencies basically. I know what pitch is. Timbre, I still see a lot of debate around timbre. That how do you describe timbre in a number? Like, are there variables? Are there kind of scientific constructs using which you can say that this variable represents timbre? So that is something which is still from my experience, I have seen no concrete science behind timbre, and that is what has shied me away from getting into timbre per se. But I know what you are getting to, and those are definitely, because the material aspects, we have a very clear understanding we are very conscious of the material construction of these instruments. And they definitely, for instance, I should also tell you that Ek Tantri Veena also has this metallic plate on top of the bridge, something that survives in Saraswati Veena, which doesn't. Patrika. See, these three features I can tell you: Patrika, Jiva, and this curved bridge, Kako. They have not been described for any other string instrument in any text before Ek Tantri Veena. And Ek Tantri Veena, in fact, has been called by Sharon Dev, who is the author of Sangeet Ratnakar, as the mother of all Veenas. They're giving a Tantri Veena a very prominent position. And I can imagine so because these features, which are now the essence of our string instruments,